I am Munzereen. I teach English online and I'm so glad to be here today. I am going to share a few of the things I wrote to myself a few years ago in a letter. I had just turned 26 4 years ago, and I wrote myself a letter because I was very disappointed to be on the wrong side of 25. It felt like I was already 30, even though I had just turned 26. A lot of what I say today will be loosely based on that letter, but it will also add on a few things that I told myself last week as I turned 29. And all those things came rushing back to me again. This was me on my birthday last week. I was celebrating the last year of my 20s. And I think the size of the cake, if you look at that one clearly, you'll see it represents my enthusiasm about turning 29. That's my niece, she's really cute. So every year on my birthday, I'm always happy, but I'm also struck by this hint of melancholy, of this hint of sadness. It's really hard to explain to people why you feel bad on a day that's all about you. Everyone's giving you gifts, everyone's trying to make you feel special. The day is entirely your day, but you don't feel quite good. You feel happy, but a little sad. You feel lucky, but a bit mad. You feel amused, but a little bit confused. I reminded myself last week, as I turned 29, that I'm going to be 30 next year. Is this how it all begins? You start feeling like nothing is ever going to be like your 20s again. This is me on every sleepover ever. Guess which one it is? The one on the left. That's me on every sleepover for the past few years with all of my friends. I remembered how I can't pull off all-nighters like I could before. How the lines on my forehead are a little bit more visible this year, how every ad out there is telling you you should start wearing sunscreen, you should start putting retinol, and so much more. So just like every millennial, I looked for solutions. I wanted to have the answers. And where else could I look for answers but not Google? I looked for answers in Google, and guess what? There is a term for all these feelings that I'm feeling. It's very millennial of us yet again to have a name for every small problem that we face. And the name is called quarter life crisis. You start, in very short, you start feeling like you're on the wrong side of 25. I've been feeling like I was on the wrong side of 25 ever since I turned 26 a few years ago. You start looking at your friends and you start auditing where you are in life. A lot of your friends are happily married. They have the career that they always dreamed of. Some of them have kids. And yet here you are, lost every time someone asks you, what do you want to do in the next 5 years? If someone asks me that question even now, I still don't have an answer. I went to Google hoping to find a few solutions, but all I found were disappointments. Just like when you have a mole in your arm, you go to Google and Google tells you it could be cancer. But I did find something that was useful. I will share that with you shortly. Basically every time, this is me, every time someone asks me to explain what is quarter life crisis, me trying to explain it versus everyone. When you're 20 plus and you already feel like you're really, really old, both physically and mentally, your back hurts a lot more than it used to hurt when you were 15. 5 years ago, when you think at 25, I'm going to have everything figured out. I'm going to have a house, I'm going to have a 6-figure salary, I'm going to buy an Audi and so much more, and none of it happens. I went on to Google because I was looking for answers. I did not find much, but I also did find that about 86% millennials report being confused lost, disappointed, hurt. They feel loneliness, they feel depression, especially when they reach their late 20s. It happens somewhere between the late 20s to their early 30s. Quarter-life crisis apparently is a real thing. The first lesson that I want to share with all of you today, again, it's based on a letter I wrote to myself about 4 years ago. But last week when I turned 29, I thought it's time to resurface that letter. It's time to tell myself a lot of the things I wish somebody had told me in the past decade. Something that could have helped make this transition easier. I love doling out advice that I'll find extremely hard to follow myself. So here it goes. The very first advice, as generic as it can be, don't let the haters get you down. It's a bit generic, but bear with me. All of our lives, we will be surrounded by some people, hopefully not everyone, but some people who will be fixated on pointing out everything that's supposedly wrong about us. It can be the way you walk, it can be the way you talk, it can be the way you lead your life, it can be the books you read, the clothes you wear, it can be anything, but they will be fixated on telling you everything that's supposedly wrong about you. I want you to remind yourself, I also want to remind myself, that don't let these haters get you down. At some point in life, maybe they'll come around, maybe they'll like you, but even if they don't, it's okay. You're amazing. Haters are going to hate, but you're gonna fly, just like this guy who's minding his own business and ignoring his haters. That's lesson number one. It's a very random picture of a very random guy, but he's ignoring the haters, and so should you. It's even a more poignant lesson for someone like me, because I'm on social media and people can be extremely cruel if they get the chance on social media. It's very easy to be cruel on social media, much easier than it is in person. So remind yourself, when haters gonna hate, you're going to fly because you're amazing. Next, a very, very generic advice, yet again, but very relevant. Sleep enough. I meet so many people on a daily basis who tell me they barely got 4 hours of sleep last night. They barely got any sleep the entirety of last week. Some of my friends are taking melatonin. Apparently that's the new thing. Instead of sleeping pills, they're taking melatonin just so that they can shut down their brain and go to sleep. Get some sleep while you still can, because at some age you're gonna want it a lot, but it's not going to come to you. Get some sleep. Get some dark curtains, drink some chamomile tea, listen to some meditative music, but get some sleep while you can. I can tell you, I'm two very different people on a day when I've had great sleep, about 12 to 14 hours, just kidding, about 8 hours, versus on a day when I haven't had any sleep. You don't want to meet the latter. It's a very cranky version of who I am. Needless to say, I got 8 hours of sleep today, so here I am. A good traveler has no fixed plans and has no intent of ever arriving. Lao Tzu said that. I feel it's a bit relevant because at the day and age of social media, we're always obsessed about our lives on social media and not as obsessed as we should be about the life outside of it. Expedia found on a survey that on average, vacationers spend about 9 hours on social media for every week they spend vacationing. I want to show you a number, and I want you all to be able to guess what this number could mean. Can we have 1 or 2 guesses? Otherwise, I will tell you. That's part of my job here. Yeah? Screen time? No.
Leave from like office.
No,
Okay.
not days of leave.
Naps.
Lamps?
Naps.
Naps. Hours of naps.
No. Minutes.
Minutes of nap. It isn't. 15. That's the number of selfies an average person takes in a single spot when they're out on vacation. If you're doing it when you're not on vacation, that's on you. I want to show you a real example of what I did last year. I was traveling through Europe. This is a selfie I took in front of the sea. It was a beautiful sea. I wanted people to know what the sea looked like. Very normal, right? Very normal. I took another selfie from the other way around because I also wanted people to see it had a mountain. Then I took another photo to show them it had mountain and the sea. That's a really crucial piece of information. Then I took another one. Probably I thought my hair was a bit off or my eyes were a bit too small. Then I took another one because I had to show them, well, look how beautiful this place is. It has the mountain, it has the sea, it has me. Can it be even more obsessive? I took a lot more photos that day. I didn't keep them here, but these were a few of them I could find. I want to remind myself, and also all of you here, and everyone watching, that you have to learn how to enjoy the journey without needing a photo as a reward sometimes. I know it can be very, very difficult to unplug in this day and age, but I still want you to try. It's really important for you and your mental health that you don't take 15 selfies in a single spot. It's really unhealthy, it is. Forcing the puzzle to fit. Ever since we're really young, we have this idea that two people are like two halves who have to come together to make a perfect whole, and that's the ideal relationship. I can't disagree more. You need to give yourself and allow yourself time to figure out who you are as a person completely before offering all of that to another person. Imagine this. If you had it all figured out, if you knew who you were completely as a person, wouldn't you have a lot more to offer to a relationship in a healthy way? I want all of us and myself to learn how to give and receive love in a healthy way. There's a comedian whose content I follow. I think you all have heard of him. His name is Daniel Sloss. He said in one of his comedy shows that if you love yourself at 20%, if someone comes up to you and loves you at 30%, you wonder, wow, that's a lot of love I'm getting that I did not deserve. But if you love yourself at 100%, that same person will need to go above and beyond to make you feel special. So you need to learn how to love yourself at 100% from a young age. And it's okay if figuring out who you are, if learning how to love yourself takes time, it's normal. No one has it figured out at 15. Many people don't have it figured out at 20, 30, 40, 60s, and it's completely okay. Age is just a number. I also want to share the story of a duck I recently read. It's the story of a duck who was asked to run a marathon. But let's be real, ducks can't run marathons, right? But let's just go with it. It's the story of a duck. The duck was asked to run a marathon, and the duck failed. All the teachers of the duck went, what a failure. What is this duck even doing in school? She should leave. She should not be allowed to do anything else. But that same duck, when that duck was asked to swim, outshone everyone, outswam everyone, and she did amazingly. And the same teachers said, what an amazing duck, what an excellent swimmer. Get that duck all the trophies. Moral of this story is, no one is good at everything, but everyone, trust me, is good at something. And you need to allow yourself that time to figure out what you're good at. Some people figure it out at 21, some people figure it out at 50, some people figure it out at 41. It's okay, but you need to allow yourself that time to figure out what you're good at. It's really tough in a world which values certain skill sets over others. It's tough to do that and remind yourself that no one is good at everything, but everyone is good at something. When the world is constantly telling you, you need to be rich, you need to be influential, you need to be on the 30 under 30 list, and so on and so forth, it's really tough to remind yourself that I need time to figure out what I want to do, when the world is constantly telling you to figure it out right now. Speak, speak, and speak some more. At this day and age, we're constantly asked and told that we need to have an opinion on everything. Be it a social media feud, be it a family disagreement, be it anything, we're constantly told that we have to engage. We have to engage no matter what it is. I want you all to allow yourself that liberty that sometimes it's okay if you don't want to have an opinion. It can be extremely tough to follow that on social media because it's so easy to give our opinions out on social media these days. It's so easy to leave a nasty comment on someone's post because there are no repercussions whatsoever. But I want to remind you that next time you feel like you must have an opinion on something, don't succumb to that pressure. If you don't feel like giving your opinion to something, don't. Pick your battles wisely. We have limited time on earth on a very dark note, but on a lighter note, we have limited time even on a daily basis. So pick your battles wisely, because not every fight is your fight to fight. You don't have to pick every single battle that comes your way and fight it. Pick your battles wisely. This is a blank piece of paper, but imagine you're a kid. You're bombarded with a lot of questions, even as a kid. Like, I have a 5-year-old niece. I ask her on a daily basis, what do you want to be when you grow up? We think it's a very harmless question, but imagine all the other questions that follow in your lifetime after that. What do you want to be when you grow up? What career do you want to pick? What will you study at university? Why aren't you getting married? What's stopping you? Why are you not successful yet anyway? And so many more questions that bombard you on a daily basis every single day. Life is endless when it comes to questions. Another number. We'll take an answer or two on what you think this number could be. It's 41, obviously, but what does it mean?
Age.
It is an age, yes. But what do you think it's an age for? Identifying yourself. You think there's a fixed age when you know who you are? What's your secret? 41 is the age when Martha Stewart, she's a very famous chef and writer, she wrote her first book. 41 is also the age when Vera Wang, she's a very famous designer, launched her first bridal boutique store. 54 is the average age of a New York Times bestsellers authors list. If these people figured it out in their 40s and in their 50s, then you need to ask yourself on a daily basis, what's the rush? What is the rush that's forcing you to have it all figured out by a certain age? Ask yourself that question every time you're bombarded with a lot more questions that life will definitely throw at you. What's the rush? We think life is supposed to be linear, but in reality, life changes directions a lot more times than we would have liked. Sometimes it drifts, sometimes it goes in circles, and you come back just to the point where you started, and that's okay. That's part of the journey. We will have to embrace it as we go. Yes, this is more of a personal lesson to myself, but I think a lot of people might be able to relate to this too. We say this one word way too often. A lot of the times when we don't want to, a lot of the times when we don't mean to. I want to remind all of you and myself that you need to say yes more often when you really mean it, when you really want it, and learn how to say no when you don't want to. It's better to say no than say yes and regret it minutes later or hours later and end up resenting yourself and everyone else because you keep thinking everyone forced me to say yes. But in reality, You have to decide and you have that control. So I want you to say yes more wisely. Say yes only when you want to and only when you mean to. Life and a football game. How is life like a football game? Another really generic advice coming your way, but I think you will be able to relate. Life is really short, it is. The average life expectancy of a person back in 17th century England was between 35 to 37. We have come a long way since then. But what is to say what's in store for us? We don't know what's in store for us. Life is short. So we need to stop tying our goals to a certain age. Have a house by 30, get married by 30, have children by 30, and so on and so forth. Because when you tie your goals to a certain age, if by any chance you don't achieve those by that age, you will have to reset all over again. And no one likes resetting when you've made so much progress, right? And you were almost there to achieving everything you wanted to achieve. So don't tie your goals to a certain age. But do think a little bit more about the bigger goals. What legacy do I want to leave behind? What do I want people to remember me for? What do I want to do for the community where I grew up in? Ask yourself these questions a little bit more, instead of tying all of your goals to a certain age. Again, life is really short. Spend it doing the things you love, with the people you love. Love who you love when you're ready. Eat the food you love, travel to the places you love, wear the clothes you love, do what you love. But remember, most of all, give yourself that much deserved love because you deserve it. Thank you so much.